The Seahawks defense has quite a large problem. They're in quite the predicament. They suck balls, right? And nothing's being changed to fix that. Now, what is the main problem behind this? Now, you could probably say the problem is Tre Flowers. You'd be pretty correct. Ken Norton. You'd be pretty gosh darn correct. Pete Carroll. You'd be quite correct as well. But my personal belief is that it's not any single person in particular. It's the team, the front office, the coaches, the players as a whole not being willing to take the blame. Now, I'm going to come out and just kind of, before I go into the whole not taking blame thing, I want to come out and say that Pete Carroll is to blame because, Ken Norton still being not fired is on Pete Carroll. Tre Flowers still playing 100% of the snaps on defense is on Pete Carroll. But the reason I can't say fire Pete Carroll is because I know it'll never happen. There is a possibility, a very slim chance, but there's a chance in that slim that Pete Carroll could possibly be like, all right, sure, fine, I'll fire Ken Norton. But Pete Carroll is not getting fired. He's going out on his own terms, and it's really just a matter of when he's going to decide to leave. He's not getting fired, and that's the problem. I know Pete Carroll is absolutely stubborn. He has certain relationships with players. The reason why he didn't get Richard Sherman, he knows too much about him, apparently. That's what Pete Carroll said in his press conference or something of the sort. He won't get rid of Ken Norton, blah, 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 because he needs yes men around him because Pete Carroll wants to be the guy that controls everything, and obviously that's a big problem, but we can't fire Pete Carroll. It's never going to happen. And that's why I don't want to focus on it. But boy, oh boy, the more I hear Pete Carroll talk, the more, the Seahawks do bad, the more okay I am with if he somehow found a way to get fired. But I just wanted to clear that up. The reason I don't bring that up all the time is because he's never going to get fired. But to move into my points, this includes Pete Carroll, the lack of willingness to take responsibility for the problems defensively is huge for the Seahawks. When the offense performs poorly, you see Russell Wilson come out as he should as the quarterback and leader of the defense and say, that's on me. Because the majority of times, maybe he makes a bad read, maybe he throws too many interceptions. He can take the blame, and even if it's not fully on Russell Wilson, he will come out and say, that's on me, I should have done better. But you never see anybody do that on the defense. You may see Bobby Wagner come out and say that every now and then. But the thing is, when it comes to the defense, you have Tre Flowers sitting there in a postgame interview saying, I did good. I don't care what anybody says. No, you didn't. Take responsibility for your failures. You see Ken Norton come out in press conferences saying, it's hard to tell. It's hard to say what went wrong. We just didn't win. People are frustrated. When he was asked about players saying that the scheme is a problem, he said, oh, they're just mad. They're trying to find someone to blame. And then he doesn't take any blame. And then he throws the blame back on the players after that. Like in a question right after that, they were asked like, oh, what went wrong then? And he was like, it's a bit of everything. The defensive line didn't play as well as they could have. The corners didn't play as well as they could have. Everyone didn't play as well as they could have. Maybe you didn't coach as well as you could have. There's so much blame being thrown around in every single direction, but no one's like, I made a mistake. Especially on the defensive side. On the offense, Russell Wilson's the only one that really takes blame most of the time on the offense. So there's still a lot of people like Pete Carroll should take some blame offensively because he's kind of stuck in his ways of doing what he wants to do. But defensively especially, it is horrible. It is a horrible situation out there. And then Pete Carroll, he doesn't deliberately go out and say it's the player's fault. But boy, oh boy, will he every single time he's asked say lack of execution. Who is that placing the blame on? Is it lack of your execution, or are you placing it on the players again, like Ken Norton will, like every single other person will? Because no one will take the blame, and that's the big problem, because if you won't realize your mistakes, you'll never fix them. If Pete Carroll doesn't see a problem with what he's doing and Ken Norton, a problem with his scheme, they'll never fix it. They'll never make the change. If Tre Flowers doesn't see a problem with how he's playing, he'll never work to get better and make the change and fix what he's doing wrong. That's what I believe is the huge issue, and that's what's ruining the Seattle Seahawks right now. Now, of course, you can't place all the blame on one specific person, right? The players for making mistakes need to take responsibility, need to take the blame for what they did wrong. But the majority of the time, coaches should take most of the blame because when it comes down to it, everything rides on them and their decision-making, Pete Carroll, Ken Norton, all that. The decision-making of the front office kind of reflects in the play on the field. So players, of course, should take responsibility for their mistakes. Like Tre Flowers should come out and take the blame for him not being able to cover anything. I wonder if he's able to cover himself with a blanket when he goes to sleep. But, Ken Norton also needs to come out as the defensive coordinator, the head of the defense, and Pete Carroll, especially as a defensive-minded coach, as kind of the head of the entire team, mainly focused on the defense. Those two should come out especially and say, hey, that's on us. We have changes that we need to make, but they refuse to do that. And that's why I believe that's the big problem. It comes down to coaching first. Players, of course, say Jamal Adams has a horrible coverage play. He should come out and say, my bad coverage. I'll work on it. I'll get better, right? But Pete Carroll and Ken Norton, when you have a game like the Vikings game where everything went wrong defensively that could have went wrong, you have to come out and say, there are changes that we need to make when it comes to coaching, players, all that. Everyone needs to make changes, and we'll be working to do that. Not come out and say, everyone's just a little frustrated that we lost. We'll come out and win next game. Tell us how. Tell us how we're going to win next game. Of course, you can't say deliberately exactly what you're going to do, but you can't just say to the fans that, oh, we're going to win next game just because I said so. You have to say, okay, this went wrong. We're working on it. Hopefully we'll improve on next game, and that'll lead us to win. Something like that, because right now it's really disheartening to listen to all the press conferences, see what players are saying, what coaches are saying, all of that, because it's just a matter of who will deflect blame the best. Will Pete Carroll throw the blame on the players without being so deliberate that the players get mad? Will Ken Norton place the blame on everyone but himself? Will Tre Flowers get cut? Please just cut Tre Flowers. I don't care what anybody says. Do something, man. Don't start Tre Flowers next game. But there's a big problem with the Seahawks defense, and there's a lot of reasons why there's a problem. But I think the number one thing that it comes down to, in my opinion, as I've kind of stated this entire video, is, you need to be willing to take the blame so that you can make the changes that need to be made. You need to realize your mistakes and realize what you're doing wrong so you can fix your mistakes and do better at what you're doing bad at. That's just my opinion. Let me know down below in the comments what you think about this. I believe the problem of the defense is not being able to take blame. What do you believe the main problem of the defense is? Let me know down below in the comments, like I said. Leave a like if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new. And by God, can the Seattle Seahawks cut Tre Flowers? Have a good day.